Hi guys, it's Tammy with Cheers to Creativity, and we're going to paint some winter birch trees in just a minute. I am just getting back downstairs, ran some errands, and now I'm here. And we're going to be doing the birch trees I showed you pictures of, which looked like this. And if you happen to have watched me when we did the fall birch trees, the trees themselves are done the same way, which is actually by taping off where we want the trees to be so they stay the color of the background, or in our case, white. The one I'm showing you I did in my mixed media pad. And I had planned on doing mine on a card today, but in the midst of running down here, I didn't quite have time to get all that together. So I'm just going to do it again on mixed media pad, but that'll be a good way to show you. And the nice thing about most of the mixed media pads, especially the ones that I recommend, which are the Canson mixed medias, is they have a nice perforated edge. So after I get done painting it, if it's something I really like, I have the opportunity to take that and then I could possibly frame it. Or in this case, it'll make a nice size card, which is kind of what I want in the first place. But you could also do this technique on canvas, just where you're taping off is going to be the canvas color. Or if you want to make sure there's paint behind it, you could paint it white first. You could do it like on a chunk of wood like this and just paint it white first, because that's what you really were trying to do, is have the white background that's going to be the base of the trees. Okay, I'm going to pull this up, I think, maybe, let's hope, and see if we are there. When you pop on, please let me know, even if it's on replay. I'd love to know how many of these are reaching people. And then real quick, I want to talk to you about next week. Hang on. This piece actually hangs in my son's room. This is the cardinal we're going to paint. We're going to concentrate on the bird. This one was done on a canvas, but again, you can just do it on the mixed media pad. You could do it on a piece of wood. I'm going to show you how to do the background, but if you wanted to work on just a piece of natural wood, we would just concentrate more on the bird. Okay, that's next week. And those colors that we used are a red, a black, a brown, a white, a blue, and maybe an orange or just a little yellow to mix with your red to make an orange for, it's just the beak part. Okay, so the first part of today's project, I'm gonna take a moment again. Remember, we're working with the acrylic paints, not the acrylic, the watercolor paints I talked about last week, which come in these pods. This is Artist Loft. I know they're available at Michael's. I got mine on Amazon. They last a really long time. They really do. So it's just a great way to have a paint source. And these are kind of iridescent, which just gives a little something extra to our painting. So I'm going to take a sip of water, and then we're going to pull the camera down, and I'm going to show you how we get ready to do these birch trees, okay? All right, here we go. Get this situated. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, so there are the trees that I did to show you. And shimmer is really, really hard to see on camera. But my background all has this very, very nice, soft shimmer to it. Trying to make sure we're in a good spot. So to get that, moving all around on you. First thing I did was I would call masked off where my trees and my snow are going to be. And to do that, you're going to want to use a tape that isn't really sticky. So a blue painter's tape works really well, and so does Scotch Magic Tape. And even on places where it's skinnier, you can always use a scissors and cut smaller parts of your tape. Okay, I'm going to do mine this way because I know I'm going to make this into a card, so I really only need to do about half of it. And I think that's the first thing I'm going to do is mark off how much I need to be concerned about making into trees. I think sometimes the longest thing to do is to find out where my tape ended. Okay. So when I get done with this, I'm going to fold this, and this is actually going to be the side that'll be my trees. So I'm going to put this down here. And we'll let it cheat just a touch here, okay? And I'm going to work on this side to be my trees. So I might not have quite as many as I have here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 trees. Probably don't need quite that many. But what I am going to do, since this tape and this tape are about the same width, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to first give myself a tall tree. Well, actually, to begin with, I think what I'm going to do is give myself some ground. So this is going to be my snow on the base where I don't want it to show. And look at, I'm even bending my tape a little bit so it has a little bit of a hill to it. Here, we're going to do the same thing. So that's going to be my ground. That's going to stay white. And now I can come in and, like I said, I'm first going to add a tall tree. So this is going to go a tree that's going to go all the way up front. I'm going to make sure I'm really pressing down on the outer edges of it. Then I'm going to have a tree that is going to start here, but it's actually going to lean a little bit this way. Maybe it leans like this. I just got a tiny bit up there. But I'm going to make sure I have a branch. Excuse me. So I just tore a little piece of my tape. And I'm going to make sure that I have a branch that goes off this way. And I'm going to tear my tape so it's skinnier. And this is going to be a smaller tree trunk that's going to come up this way. I think I'll make my biggest part down below. And this one I might have a bit of a branch coming off as well. And if I didn't like this little part, I would just pull it back up and maybe snip it with the scissors. So that I've got this tree, I've got these 2 trees, and then I can add a little bit of extra lines with trees too, with just the white. But this is what I'm putting off. Forget this side of the blue. There's some yellow, some pinks. I come back up to the blues in here. That's what I'm going to show you first. And that's just by taking the colors from my watercolor and a fairly good sized brush. And I'm going to pick up water with it. And I'm going to pick up here. Here's some of this blue. And the water activates the paint in the little pods. And if you want, you can tap it onto your paper towel, or you can just start adding some color. And that's a very, very light blue in my case. So without even messing with my brush, I'm going to pick up a little darker blue. And I'm going to come up on the top part just to make it a little darker. I think I'm going to rinse that out. And I might just pick up that dark blue and come down like where my snow is, where it's going to meet at my snow. And I'm going right over my tape. I'm going to rinse that out. So I've got a clean brush, clean water, and I'm going to pick up some yellow. And I'm just creating that paint by adding water to my little pot of paint. And here's some little bit of a yellow. And then whether I rinse my brush or go right in, I might pick up a little orange. And blend those two together a bit. And as I'm going in toward the top, I'm going to pick up maybe a pink. This could work for either sunrise or sunset. So you can kind of see I have some blue on the top, a little blue on the bottom. Sometimes it helps to kind of let it sit for a second to see if maybe I might want to add just a touch more blue up at the top. maybe just a little of that darker blue right at the bottom. Then I still have the variation of some colors in the middle. And like I said, it's really hard to see, but when this dries, this has a really, really pretty shimmer. If you didn't have these paints, you could just use regular acrylic paint. Didn't have watercolor paints, I'm so sorry, watercolor. You could just thin down your acrylic paints too. So I'm going to leave this here because that's the edge of my card that I'm going to do. But I'm going to lift off the other ones that I put down. So this tiny bit here. I'm going to come over here. I swear this is the harder part. I've got a little bit of a tree there. I'm going to take off where I laid down this tape down below to make my ground. Pull this off. So this was my ground. Here are some of my trees. And this is what I'm working with my trees. All right. So the next thing we need is just regular black acrylic paint and a small brush. So I'm going to put a little acrylic paint on a paper plate, a well-used paper plate, and I'm going to just dampen my brush a little bit. And this is what I'm trying to do. I want to give my trees I want to give them an outline to make sure I know where my trees are, and I'm going to give them some lines across and some darker skinny lines. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a little bit of black paint. And I'm just going to outline my trees. So here's my first tree. And they don't have to be a perfectly straight line because trees are not perfectly straight. I get here, start here. When I get to that branch, I'm just going to pull off. I'm going to go ahead and this tree's right behind it from here. See, he's down here. And I'm just going to pull just a little bit of a line into my snow to look like the bottom of my tree. I'm going to outline this guy or gal as well. See, like a little fatter there? That's okay because trees have those spots on them that have a little something, something going on. I'm going to come in and do where my V is here. All right, so now I know about where my trees belong. I'm going to take a peek over here. And I'm first going to come in with the same brush, and I'm just going to give it some, I'm not going to push down really hard. I'm going to be kind of light. I'm just going to go, just going to give it a couple little wisps, both sides. I'm going to do that on all the bigger parts of my trees. It's kind of like where we see the bark of a birch tree. Okay. I just rinsed my brush out. I'm going to go back into black. And this time, I'm just going to stay on the very tip of my brush just to make a few smaller, darker lines. already looks more like birch trees. And then the other thing I can do is I can come back like I did over here. You see that this has this extra little branch that comes off of it. And that I did just with the straight black and that smaller brush. So let's do one that kind of comes off here. And I might need a couple little branches to come off of my branch. To make the skinnier lines, we're going to make sure we are lifting up on our brush just to get a little skinnier. And we can add where we'd like to have a couple of those extra little branches coming out from our main trees. Some of them can be a little skinny and faint, and some of them can be more direct. Oh, if I do one over here, let's do one right about here. I like being a little shaky on these. All right, so now I've got my trees that have some extra little bark lines on them and some extra branches coming off. I'm going to come back and look what I did, and I pulled a few branches from the snow area. They weren't full trees, but just little branches that came out. About the base of the trees. Sometimes the really simple things can make a big difference and can be impactful. Okay, so we've got our tree that we did. I'm going to lift this guy off here for just a second. Whoops. Because I was thinking possibly what it might need that I didn't do on the first guy was to take just a little bit of white paint and to make some snow dots on there if you wanted to look like it was more like it was a snowy day. You would not have to do that. And I actually had to walk away to get white paint. So I'm just going to take a little white paint. A little bit. And I'm going to take a dotting tool and I'm going to add some snow dots. It'll probably be hard for you to see. I'll try to bring it back up. So I just added a little bit of the white dots. And I could even go back with our skinny brush and pick up some white paint and just lay it in the parts of the tree where you would catch snow, or maybe a little bit on the branches. Add a little more up here. And after that dries just a touch, I could even come back and add a little bit of our twinkle glitter to that and would make it shine a little more. So I'm just kind of globbing this on. I've just added a little bit of glitter there. A little hard to see. Let me show you real quickly now how I'm going to turn this. I'm taking my piece of tape off. I'm going to come in with a flat brush because I have a little bit of that glitter left, and I'm just going to brush down here where my snow would be beneath my trees. So my ground is going to sparkle a little more than everything else. Oops. I'm going to tear this out. And it's really hard to see, but there is this perforated edge that all I need to do is bend this onto my perforated edge. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. There we go. And then I can just tear that part off. Sure I can. I should wait till it's completely dry, but I'm a little impatient, so I'm going to bring my corners together. And my corners together up here. Lay it down. And I'm going to crease my edge. And I have a very sweet card. All right. So that was today's very simple project to show you how to make some wintry birch trees. Like I said, they're great to make them into a project like a canvas or paper that you're going to frame, but they're really fun to just do as a card, and that would be really fun to send a little winter greeting to a friend or a relative. So hope you have a great rest of your day. Until I see you again, please be kind, be safe, and cheers. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.